Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. In Boom and Bust, continuing examination of the national security implications of foreign interference, I'm pleased to welcome our latest guest. Dean Baxendale is the president and CEO of Optimum Publishing International, which has published a critique of the Chinese Communist Party's activities. Welcome to Boom and Bust, sir.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's great to be here with you today.
So I guess maybe just tell our audience a little bit about you and Optimum Publishing and what you're doing to shine a light on Chinese economic and political interference.
Well, thank you. So first of all, Optimum Publishing International is a close to 50-year-old publishing house that was started originally with the Montreal Star Publishing Company by my father, Michael Baxendale, back in the early 70s late 70s, early 80s, and developed into an international book publisher that was publishing narratives on national politics, organized crime, humanities, and the environment, a plethora of titles. And over the years, since my father passed away, I took over the organization and started to really focus my efforts on national politics and the China issue, i.e. the CCP's infiltration operations, et cetera, came basically, interestingly enough, out of the Patrick Brown scandal. And ultimately, Patrick Brown, who was questioning why the Ontario government was awarding casino contracts to Great Canadian Gaming, whose business operations seemed rather suspect. In terms of in light of the bags of cash, millions of dollars that were funneling through BC casinos at the time. So that's a little bit of a history. And then we published 6 books on China's infiltration operations, human rights abuses, the Uyghur genocide, Tibet, et cetera. So we've really come full circle. We've published books now in London, Washington, New York, ostensibly bringing and highlighting these issues to the global public. And That's why I'm here in Washington today, actually, to speak on the forced labor practices of the Chinese Communist Party and how that, unfortunately, has led to Canada not being able to be competitive and, quite frankly, globally, other partners in that same realm.
Well, thank you for that. And maybe just delve a little bit deeper into some of your findings and what is the extent, and give us some examples of Chinese activity in these areas.
Well, very quickly, I think giving people a brief history on this, over a period of the last 2 decades, and ever since we allowed China into the WTO, the CCP and its proxy corporations basically have exploited and manipulated almost every rule and regulation, and they've taken it to their full advantage without much of a pushback from the West. So China's positioned itself now as the dominant player in several key global industries, and most notably in the mining minerals area, telecommunications, and technology manufacturing. So China now controls 80% of the global supply of rare earth minerals. So, which is critical, obviously, for the manufacture of electronics, renewable energy, technologies, and military equipment. So this monopoly poses significant, geopolitical / economic risk, security risk for all nations, and our reliance on a single supply chain, and no more better illustrated than our COVID-19 experience, and that of all products coming out of China, be they pharmaceuticals or in the protective personal equipment which was needed across the board to protect our frontline workers in healthcare. So, basically, we see China as an entity, in Canada that's, previous governments. We try to partner with China with all good reason. We look for a win-win opportunity, which is how China presented that to our politicians, to our business leaders. And ultimately, we saw an undermining and an exploitation in each and every single industry, including heavy subsidization across the board, including, obviously, right now, where we're sitting at, and having a discussion around electric vehicles. And the has now put on a 100% tariff on those EVs as a way in which to combat China's growth in the industry, which will undermine every single manufacturer in North America.